Hello guys and welcome back to ICE. This is Comic Watch, and today we're going to be talking about the differences between Western comics and manga and why I love both for different reasons. Well, let's start with Western comics. Western comics are like Marvel, DC. It's more superhero based for the most part. I mean, you get some non-superhero comics out there, but for the most part it's superhero. And their storytelling is way different than Eastern, than like the Japanese manga storylines. And it's like two different mediums. Like Western's more, gosh, how do I put it? Their story arcs are more just like, I don't know. Gosh, when you really sit down and try to think about it, what are the differences between Western and Eastern? I guess the Japanese mangas comics are more story driven. They're a lot more story heavy, and they're a lot more just like character based and like long term. While Western comics, you can kind of pick one up and read it for the most part. I mean, they have their arcs, but they're not like heavily story driven, I guess, as compared to manga. Because manga's like story for long term. Even though Western comics can go on for quite a few years. I mean, Superman hit 1,000 not that long ago. But I don't know. When you really think about it, what are the differences between Western and Eastern? And this is, I mean, obviously this video is going to be just a video of me talking about it, rather than like going into a manga or a comic like I usually do. This is more of a talk video. Like I'm having a discussion. Having a discussion for this week. When you really think about it, what are the differences between the two? Obviously, the art styles are different. While Western art styles are more cartoony, I guess, they more have a distinct style compared to the West. Even though, even though the West has a lot of artists like around the world. Say there's some artists from Marvel and DC that are in South America. A lot of them live in Brazil, and then you got some that live in like Canada and United States and Europe. They're everywhere. So you really think about it though. But yeah, the art styles, I mean, obviously there's a significant difference between the art styles, and it's a lot more cartoony. While anime has a definite style that the Japanese have developed over decades, and we got the style that we all know and love if you like manga. And it's just, I don't know. I had an idea walking into this video, and now I'm just like, when really talking about it, what are the differences between Western and Eastern comics? It's just, you got genres, obviously. I think the Japanese have more genres, even though Western has like horror and romance and all that, but I don't think it's as diverse and significant as like the manga, who have like horror, drama, romance, comics for all ages. Even though Westerns do have that as well, but again, I think it's more significant in the Japanese manga that's like more like in your face, because Western comics are known for their superheroes, while Eastern comics like manga are more for just like their stories and about stories from anything you can think of. So I don't know. I really think that there is a big difference, but at the same time, it's all down to the art. It's an art form of storytelling from both sides. And Western has ideals from like Western culture, and then of course Japan or Eastern has their ideals and culture inside their comics. Well, some of them have their culture embedded into it, while others are like Attack on Titan, which is more based in European culture and the way they live. Like I think Attack on Titan is supposed to be like German or somewhere around Central Europe. So, but you got stories like that, and then of course you got stories like they're more Japanese centric, and it's two different cultures doing the similar art form, but two different ways. Because the Japanese are more about like collective issues or chapters in magazines, which I guess you could say is similar to the Western, the way they do it with single issues every month or a couple times a week, depending on which story and comic book company you're talking about. So I guess they're similar in the sense of that. Instead of having single issues, weekly or monthly issues like Marvel and DC and some of the others do it, in Japan they have it in a chapter or two in a magazine every month or every week or whatever. and then of course they release them in the collective issues, which I think they put a lot more chapters into a graphic novel compared to a Western. Unless you get like the huge ones, Western comics, their graphic novels aren't really that thick compared to the Japanese, where they put like 200 to 400 pages, while the Americans usually keep it around 100 or so. I may be exaggerating it, but their graphic novels are not as big. Granted, they're in color. The Western like their color, while the Eastern keeps it black and white pretty much, unless it's like the first few pages of the manga or the issue or chapter or whatever. So the Japanese kind of stay away from color, which is, I think, is kind of a shame. Granted, it probably costs more because, I mean, yeah, you're putting all that work into it, and color adds a whole nother layer to it. But of course, Western, they use everything in color, which has its own flair to it, and I think it benefits from the Western stories, while black and white works well with manga. So, yeah. So let's have a discussion. What do you see the differences between Western and Eastern comics, and do you like them both, or what do you like both? What do you like about both of them? And yeah, so let's have a discussion in the comments if anyone's watching. So I'll see y'all next week or Friday for the podcast, and I'm gonna be at Stand Japan doing shit, taking names, buying anime, manga, figures, shit like that. It's like Nerd Central. Thanks for watching me ramble about the difference between manga and Western, manga and comics. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all Friday.